Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The number of new claims for unemployment benefits increased by nearly 3.2 million last week, bringing the total during the 7-week pandemic to more than 33 million. And this is just a precursor to a monthly jobs report Friday that economists say could show 16% unemployment. The pace of layoffs is slowing, but still increasing, even with portions of the economy reopening.
Yeah, we are in an ugly situation. The economy is trying to open. And I talked to an economist yesterday from ASU, and he's trying to roll out some of the things that he thinks that we can do to get ourselves back on track. The problem is we've already done so much damage that getting us back to where we would like to be is not possible. It's just not. The reality is the tourist industry is destroyed. Tourism, destroyed. The airplane world of travel, the cruise world of travel, destroyed. The restaurant industry is, nobody even knows. It's going to be people who are going to go out when they have the opportunity to go places and eat, that they may take that opportunity. They may have 3 or 4 of their favorite restaurants they like to go to. What they're going to do is they're going to find the one that they think is doing the absolute best job of keeping people safe, and they'll just frequent that one. If they go out at all and eat, they have the money to go out. There's so many things that play into this. We're past the point of, well, we can just fix it and go back to the way it was. No, we can't. We can't. The train has been derailed. There's no just, well, can we back it up 5 feet and go? That doesn't work that way. 33 million people in 7 weeks have filed for unemployment. It'll be another 2.5 to 3 million next week. Because we're getting to the point where that first round of funding that people received is going away, meaning they've spent it all. Now they're looking around and they're saying to themselves, self, what do I do now? Because even though I may be able to reopen, and that's a maybe, I can't reopen to the same capacity if I'm a restaurant or the same way I did before if I'm a retailer, because I don't need as many people as I once did, because there's not going to be as many people shopping. Plus, I've got restrictions on what I can and can't do. I've had to spend more money bringing in products and things to help with people's safety. This is where we are. 33 million people in 7 weeks. Tomorrow we'll get the full look at the jobs report. It could be 16. I'm predicting closer to 17 to 18% will be our range of unemployment. Now, how do we get back out there and slowly start to dig out of it? Because I do not think that we're going to dig out of it in the way that a lot of people want to feel like we're going to dig out of it. Because we haven't been tested in the next phase, which is the spike, which is the second wave. Remember, the second wave was the deadliest wave of the Spanish flu. And we're never going to get to Spanish flu levels. There's not going to be 11, 12, 16, 18. I mean, you go and look, the numbers are scattered all over. Some people saying it was 12 million people over about a 2-year period that died from the Spanish flu. Others say it was close to 50 million. I couldn't tell you. What I do know, it was in the millions, but we're not going to get there with this, even globally. It's just not going to happen. But we are going to have a spike. We are going to have, and some of that's because of testing. Testing's getting better. It's out there more. People are going and getting tested a lot more. So you will see, obviously, the more you test, the more you're going to find people that are positive. I always look at the percentage. You test 10,000 people and 500 come up positive, and the day before you test 5,000 people and 250, the percentage is about right. But we are going to get more people that test positive. and there will be a spike, and the questions aren't being answered by any governor anywhere in the country. From here where I am, Doug Ducey, to Newsom, to Cuomo, to anybody else that's out there, DeSantis, Abbott, you name it, they're not answering the question of, okay, so there is a spike. Are you going to try to go to the county that the spike is in, the city that the spike is in? You're going to start to do tracing, or are you just going to go, everybody back to the way it used to be? And by the way it used to be is confusing. If you saw Cuomo yesterday talk about what's going on in New York, it is mind-boggling.
With everything we've done, closed schools, closed businesses, everybody shelter at home, all the precautions about wear a mask, wear gloves, etc., you still have 600 new cases that walked in the door yesterday. Where are those new cases still coming from? Because we've done everything we can to close down. How are you still generating 600 new cases every day? Where are they coming from?
Where are they coming from? That's the question. So you've asked everybody to do everything you possibly can. And if you're in a state where it's a little bit more lax, so I'm here in Arizona, pretty lax compared to New York. New York was not quite Spain or Italy lockdown, but pretty locked down. And they're still getting cases.
Where are those people coming from? This is a surprise. Overwhelmingly, the people were at home. 18% of the people came from nursing homes. Less than 1% came from jail or prison. 2% came from the homeless population. 2% from other congregate facilities. But 66% of the people were at home. Shocking.
66% of the people were at home. Think about that. 66% of the people were at home. Yeah, that is insane.
They're not working. They're not traveling. They're predominantly downstate, predominantly minority, predominantly older, predominantly non-essential employees.
Translation: they are coming in contact, in theory, with the least amount of people and have the least amount of opportunity to be exposed to this, yet they are the ones who are making up the majority of the cases that they're seeing now. I tweeted yesterday, it's almost safer to be in jail. You're like, what? 66% of the new cases of hospitalizations are coming from people that aren't essential employees, that aren't traveling, that aren't going anywhere, that come in minimal contact with people, and yet they're catching it. That's insane. And he was dumbfounded. I get it. He's looking around going, are you kidding me? This is what's going on? Yeah, this is what's happening. So now we start asking ourselves the question, what's the next step? The economy is the next step. And slowly but surely, we're going to have to release people out there and leave them to their own discretion to make certain decisions. And they're going to. Some of them may make poor decisions. Other ones will make the right decisions. But at the end of the day, there's only so much the government, the feds, and everybody else can do. Our immunity and the best immunity we have is going to be us. Not just socially distancing, not just washing our hands, not just doing but eventually, as we have for thousands and thousands of years, which is take this thing on as individuals while they try to figure out how they get a vaccine, while they try to figure out how they get therapeutics that work. The best that we may be for ourselves is living with it and fighting through it and building up the best possible immunity we can to hopefully get to the point where we don't give it too many places to go. And we can shut that area down quick, because otherwise Life's going to be weirder than it is now. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Hope you're doing well. Beautiful. Got over the hump. Thursday's here. Great. Today, get ready for this, Producer Phil. I'm doing it today. I'm going to get my antibodies test.
Good for you.
I'm excited. I'm going to go get it. I thought about, I was sick. For me, sick. I had a couple days where I had a fever that I don't normally. In fact, the other day I took my temperature just for I was 97.1. And I got up about a month and a half, 2 months ago. I got up to like 101, which was super high for me. For 2 days, I slept, and then I was semi back to normal. But it was weird, and the thing that made me think, okay, maybe I did have it, was my toes, because they talk about these weird bruises. In my toes, I got these weird bruises, and it was just the weirdest thing. So my doctor said, hey, we got the antibodies test. And I said, all right, I'm going to come. I'm going to take two. I think they do one with a finger prick, and then they do another one with where they draw a full thing of blood. So we'll see. This will be interesting. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Raycon, best earbuds around. I don't know if you, and let me tell you why they're the best earbuds around. Because you want that nice noise isolating fit. Am I correct? I mean, everybody does. Everybody wants that nice noise isolating fit. You don't want to be this guy.
The subject matter of the call might range beyond the collection of government-backed debt. Maybe they're going to be marketing some other product. Maybe they're going to be saying, hey, call your congressman and change these laws that apply to banks. And what the FCC has said is that when the subject matter of the call ranges to the topics, then the...
That is a guy who is arguing before the Supreme Court via social distancing rules, and there's a flush. It wasn't him, but it was another one of the justices. You don't want to be that person. You want the nice noise isolating fit without the background. That is where Raycons come in. E25's best around, the best around. 6 hours of talk time, absolutely incredibly comfortable. Great bass, great sound design, seamless Bluetooth pairing, and they start well under $100. No stems, no wires. This is what you want. E25's Raycon. I'm going to save you even more money. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. You will save, yes, an extra 15%. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Check out our Chad Benson Show Facebook page where you can hang out or hang your grievances out to dry. This is Chad Benson.
August is a realistic possibility in a contingency plan, and September is another realistic possibility and a contingency plan. And all of these things need to be baked into that original proposal that Major League Baseball is going to send over to the Players Association in the coming week or so.
Baseball, I mean, they're making some sort of move where they have a plan drawn out and they're ready to get going. They've tossed around everything. Originally, it was June. It's going to be here in Arizona because of the proximity of so many stadiums that could house teams. So they were going to do it that way. But then the worry was, well, because Florida, even though they have spring training, you've got stadiums that are 300 miles apart. They didn't want the teams to travel left, right, and center. So they just said, here, everybody's within like 25 miles. There's a ton of stadiums. We could do that. Then it was, no, we're going to do this. We're going to break it up into 3 divisions only. We're going to play 100, 120 games. They're going to be regional, so there'll be a couple hubs where everybody's at and they play there. That was it. Now they're talking about, well, why don't we just try to play home games for home teams? And we'll also put ourselves in a situation where we're not going to have fans and we'll monitor it as it goes. I don't know. But I know we're getting closer to some sort of thing, at least announcements.
In order for baseball to come back, it also needs the backing of the federal government all the way up to the White House, as well as the backing of health experts and officials whose gravitas and authority is going to really lend credence to this plan, because we have to understand the environment in which baseball would be coming back.
That's Jeff Passan, ESPN. He's right. He's absolutely right. We need to figure out exactly what it's going to look like when and if it comes back. Now, the first big major league sport. So Korean baseball is going on. I've picked my team. I'm a huge fan of the SK Wyverns. Huge fan. Go Wyverns. They're playing, and Major League Baseball is checking out, kind of seeing exactly, how's it going? There's no fans. The Bundesliga, which is one of the top 3 or 4 soccer leagues in the world, in Germany, they've been stopped down. They made an announcement yesterday that starting next weekend, the season's back on. So next weekend, they'll kick off. We'll see how that goes. The Spanish League, they return to training on Monday. The Premier League, which is the biggest league in the world, still on hold because the UK is still struggling, but they plan to make an announcement. But sport is part of something that we do in this country. People are looking around. Baseball, 100 games. We'll see how this goes. Basketball, still in limbo. Not quite sure. Hockey, don't think it's going to happen. And football, well, pro football, most likely. College football, not sure. If football got canceled, I think that is a morale crusher in this country. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Unemployment numbers out, not great. The shooting in Georgia is finally starting to get people talking. We'll touch on that. And if you've not seen it, don't see it, is the best way I can describe it. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
There's probable cause there to make an arrest. If it was the other way around, if it had been someone shot that was black, said he got out of a truck, stopped a jogger, white, many of us feel there would have been arrest right away because there's probable cause, and they would have told the black assailants, tell it to the judge. Well, that's what they ought to say to this man and his son. Tell your story to the judge, because that video clearly says that you with no cause, no self-defense, shot and killed a man that was merely jogging while black.
Rarely do I say this. Al Sharpton's right. If you've not seen this, and not a lot of people have, it's over the last 24 hours, it has picked up steam. We talked about it yesterday. Ahmaud Arbery was out for a jog. That's it. Family says he loves to jog. Dad, his mom, this is what he likes to do. Loves to jog. Former football player in high school, Atlanta, Georgia, out for a jog in his southern Georgia neighborhood. Black dude running down the street. The McMichaels, father and son, chase him. Brunswick. So they're there chasing him in the neighborhood. Somebody's got a camera on the whole thing, and we were trying to figure out, like, who would be filming this. And I'm like, how many people nowadays, Lyft drivers, Uber drivers, they have cameras because they capture all kinds of weird stuff, and they just do. I mean, everybody's, a lot of people do have cameras, dash cams, and all that stuff. They're in a white pickup. They get ahead of him. They get out. The son confronts him with a shotgun. There's a scuffle. 3 shots are fired. The dad's riding in the back of the pickup truck. So you got 2 white dudes with guns and a 25-year-old guy unarmed running down a neighborhood, just jogging. And they believe he's a suspect in burglaries in the neighborhood. He shot 3 times. Takes about 3 or 4 steps, falls to his knees, collapses. Happened February 25th or 23rd. We had the coronavirus. It's quiet. All anybody's talking about is quiet, because the coronavirus is it. I mean, there's nothing happening. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world because the coronavirus is. The sports are being canceled. Movies are being canceled. They're closing everything. Coronavirus is here. It's taken over. And that's all that anybody's talking about. And that's all that anybody wants to hear is they want to know what's going on. Their world's changed. It's been flipped upside down. So has his family's lives. Just out for a jog. And they're calling it a modern lynching. And based on the video I see, I don't know what else you're going to call it. I don't. They said they were making a citizen's arrest, but they didn't see this guy break into anything. He was a suspect that matched the suspects that they were looking for. They were going to make a citizen's arrest. If you see the video, it's a tough video to watch.
I do believe that Ahmaud was just out for his daily jog. I have believed that since day one. He's been doing this for years.
Everybody knows him, says he likes to go for a run. He likes to jog. I go out and go for a jog. It'd be weird if 2 guys just rolled up on you with guns. There's some questions that need to be answered. Absolutely. And people are starting to raise awareness of this. You're innocent until proven guilty in our country. You have to hear all sides of the story. But based on the video I've seen, it's an ugly look for our country. It's an ugly look for Georgia. This was... It looks like exactly what people are saying, a modern-day lynching. Chase a guy down in a truck, 2 white guys, one in the back of the truck, the bed of the truck, both armed, get out and confront a guy, and minutes later he's dead.
This is outrageous, and I think that it demands an arrest immediately today. His birthday's tomorrow. We couldn't think of a more appropriate way to make sure that this mother, who's going to Mother's Day without her son, deal with the fact that at least there's a step toward justice with an arrest. An arrest is not a conviction. An arrest starts a process. But to not even start the process is blatantly disregarding the law in favor of this man who ought to know better since he was on law enforcement for 30 years.
Yeah, and that's part of the issue here is... Pops was, I guess, in law enforcement for a long time. Son, everybody wants to distance themselves when it comes to this situation. Everybody wants to get as far away as possible from this. So the DAs they've kicked it to the side. They've said, well, one prosecutor said, this feels like it's just a self-defense, stand your ground law, but they've all recused themselves. And the prosecutor now said, look, the district attorney said, we're going to look at this. We can't do anything. We can't convene a grand jury because we have social distancing in place. So there's not a lot we can do at this moment in time with McMichael's family because of what's going on. They're not going to reconvene until June, which is fair. I mean, it's fair to say at this moment in time, if you're going to convene a grand jury for real, I get that. And this is the process that goes on. And the reason for that is because, as we all know, we're living in a world of COVID-19 where things are much different. But this was ugly. And it does deserve attention. And there's a lot of stories over the last several weeks that have been essentially gone because of COVID-19. sucks up all the air everywhere. And I'm glad that this is getting attention.
Ahmaud carried the most humblest spirit. Ahmaud was kind. He was well-mannered. Ahmaud, most of all, was loved by his family and peers. I mean, Ahmaud didn't deserve to go the way that he went.
And, of course, what's going to end up happening is they're going to start digging. Digging. Does he have an arrest record? What was his arrest record? What did he do? I don't care what he had done in the past. What he was doing there was nothing. He was jogging. And he was killed. Do you have video of him stealing stuff? Do you have video of that? We'll find out. Innocent until proven guilty. They have their right to have their say. At this point in time, nobody's been arrested. The McMichaels, father and son, have not been arrested. Do I think it's coming? I think at some point in time, there's a possibility, and they will have their opportunity to have their day in court. This would be the big story if it wasn't for the coronavirus. And it's starting to bubble. And I think you're going to hear more and more of it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You could text the program as well. With all that going on, yes, kids, I want to remind you today they released more unemployment news.
The number of new claims for unemployment benefits increased by nearly 3.2 million last week, bringing the total during the 7-week pandemic to more than 33 million. And this is just a precursor to a monthly jobs report Friday that economists say could show 16% unemployment. The pace of layoffs is slowing, but still increasing, even with portions of the economy reopening.
Yeah. I think we're being closer to 17 to 18% based on the numbers I've seen. We're at 33 million in 7 weeks. 33 million. And we've yet to go through what I think is going to be the toughest time, because this was a shock, but people have kind of adapted to this normal that we have at this moment. I call this a momentary normal because it's not the new normal. We're not going to live like this forever. But there is going to be a second wave. There is going to be more and more companies that are going to be exhausting the last of that PPP money. And they're going to start to realize as they reopen, they're not going to need as many staff members, or they're going to start to realize that they're not going to be able to sustain the businesses, and they're going to start to shutter. And if there is a second shutdown, that will be absolutely devastating. 48% of American business, as far as people who are employed by people who have small businesses. So about half the workforce is employed by small businesses. Could you imagine if we lost half of those, what that looks like? It'll open up opportunities elsewhere for people to come in and fill voids, but it's still going to take a long time to get back to an economy that is chugging along with unemployment down where we once had it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Do love hearing from all of you. Mask. You have your mask yet? Do you? Boomer Naturals. I'm working with them. They supplied a bunch of masks to a food bank here and gave us some. They're incredible. These masks are 30-day face masks. So Boomer Naturals gets these face masks, brings them over from some of their partners over in Vietnam who have, by the way, if you go look at their numbers, these masks are incredible. The numbers in Vietnam are extremely low compared to ours. 92.2% is what this mask gives you for protection compared to you do it yourself one, anywhere from 2% to 70%. And the N95s are medical grade, and you can't even find those, most people, anywhere. These ones, though, are amazing because you can wash and wear for 30 days. Simple and easy. 3 layers of protection. Hypoallergenic, 65% cotton, 35% polyester. It's a blended material. Soap, water, room temperature. Let it dry, air-wise. Away you go. Each mask can be worn for 30 days, suitable for all-day wear. Covers your nose, covers your mouth, available in adult and children's sizes. And these masks are being worn in hospitals all over the globe. Here's the great thing. Got a chance to get yours now. You're going to love these things. BoomerNaturals.com. BoomerNaturals.com. Use code CHAD20. You're going to save 20% plus free shipping on any orders over $50. Take your family's health into your own hands and order your 30-day mask now. BoomerNaturals.com. Use promo code CHAD20. BoomerNaturals.com. Promo code CHAD20. Chad Benson Show.
Being antisocial sucks. Hang with Chad's friends on Facebook, The Chad Benson Show. And if you just need some alone time, head on over to Twitter at Chad Benson Show. Either way, we can't wait to meet the real you.
Some people are tone deaf. Case in point, Kevin Spacey.
I don't think it will come as a surprise for anyone to say that my world completely changed in the fall of 2017. My job, many of my relationships, my standing in my own industry were all gone in just a matter of hours. I don't often like to tell people that I can relate to their situation, but in this instance, I feel as though I can relate to what it feels like to have your world suddenly stop.
Well, yeah, but the people whose lives have stopped, those people, like everybody, they weren't accused of sexually assaulting the coronavirus. Their lives have been canceled through no fault of their own, but because of a virus, a pandemic.
I was so busy defining myself by what I did or what I was trying to do that when it all stopped, I had no idea what to do next. Because all I ever knew was how to act. From the time I was 11 years old, I dreamed of acting. I thought I was born to do it. And when my career came to a grinding, screeching halt, when I was faced with the uncertainty that I might never be hired as an actor again, I had to ask myself a question I'd never asked myself before, which is, if I can't act, who am I?
Well, you're somebody worth about $100 million. I don't know if you're aware of that. You're worth a few bucks. And I know that that's how he defines himself and who he is. And we all do, right? If you're a doctor, you're a doctor. And especially for men, that's a very important thing of self-worth and all of that stuff. But let's be real here, Kevin.
And while I don't want to sugarcoat this devastating time that we're in, I am hoping that I can encourage you to see an opportunity in all of this and turn this into a positive. And right now, we have this opportunity to just stop and reflect on our lives and maybe even learn a little bit more about ourselves.
He's acting there. He's acting like he's not done anything wrong and that he's a victim. You're not a victim. You're not. Not a victim. You are somebody who, and I'll say this, like, I don't know all of the stories. I don't know how many of them true. Some of them turned out to be baloney. Some of them have turned to have more validity in things when it comes to this. But at the end of the day, there's also something else that goes with this. People didn't like to work with you. You were tough. You were one of those people, and everybody has worked with somebody who's great at their job, but they're awful to work with. They're horrible, horrible, horrible to work with. Whether actors will tell you, certain directors, as a player, I played for coaches that were great but awful. And they're always on, you always have a certain amount of time. Like, you couldn't go to work like that every day. For a specific time, you can do that. But eventually, the act wears thin. Even like, you look at somebody like Donald Trump. Awesome experience, I'm sure. You're going to learn a lot of stuff. But it's going to be chaos. It's going to be walking on eggshells at time. It's going to be demanding. And eventually, there is a sell-by date of which you got to go. And people didn't like working with him. He threw fits. He was just tough to work with. It wasn't just the things that took place. Because I will tell you this right now. There are guys out there in the industry that are pigs, as we would call them today. But people like them. They're not afraid of them, and we'll give them a much bigger path because we don't hate you. There was a lot of things that goes into him. This whole thing with him, though, trying to relate to, I get what you all are going through. It's a tough time right now. I'm like, you did something awful, allegedly, to several people, and that's why you're not working, Kevin Spacey. That's why. Just throwing that out there. Other people were just doing their jobs when the government came in and said, this thing's awful, it's horrible, you all need to go home and shelter in place. They didn't do anything wrong. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me, text the program as well. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The number of new claims for unemployment benefits increased by nearly 3.2 million last week, bringing the total during the 7-week pandemic to more than 33 million. And this is just a precursor to a monthly jobs report Friday that economists say could show 16% unemployment. The pace of layoffs is slowing, but still increasing, even with portions of the economy reopening.
And what's it look like? Because we've not faced that second wave of true unemployment. Some of these layoffs are temporary, but 33 million people aren't getting their jobs back, even if we opened up the entire economy today. There's a psychological thing that goes with all of this. Think about this. You've got people that are worried about catching this. Understandable. You've got people with compromised immune systems, and we can go through the gamut of stuff. We don't need to do that. You have people that are naturally just worried about catching it, even though they don't have any real reason to worry, because 99% of people that catch this, and that may even be higher, will survive this, and 98% to 99% won't even know they had it or have very mild symptoms. But they're still going to be worried. Then you have people that aren't really worried about catching it, but they're worried about their jobs, their livelihoods. So even if they're making money, they're not certain that we're going to stay open and not have another close down because of rising cases and the spike after more people get back outside. So they're going to be scared to even spend money. So 33 million people are unemployed. Now, not all getting their jobs back. Plus, you add in, we don't need as many people working as we did before because we are either limited in capacity of what we can do, see restaurant industry and several other industries. The tourism industry, right? The industry where people are traveling and going, they're not going to need to bring everybody back. Who's traveling? I'm on Hotels.com all the time. Let me tell you how fast prices crashed. I stay, because I live about an hour plus outside of town. So a couple nights a week, I will stay in town just because it's easier for me. I got to get up so early in the morning to do all the shows, to prep the whole 9 yards. So I'll stay in town during what would be spring training time, which is the time here in Arizona where everybody's making a ton of money, especially in the tourism industry. The weather's great. You got all the golf places open. You've got the snowbirds in town. Then you've got the baseball teams here for about 6 weeks. So people are coming. I mean, normally that time, some hotels would go for $150, $200 a night that aren't hotels that are worth anything close to that. Other hotels that would go for $200 a night are going for $500, $600, $700, $800. There's a couple hotels I know that during a regular time of the year, you could pay $150 to $300. You can get for $40 now. People aren't going to be traveling. You start adding all that up, you realize that those 33 million people aren't going to be getting their jobs back. Some will, and a majority will in some capacity, but it won't be what it was. That is going to take a while. Even if we figure something out today and we have a vaccine, and they say, oh my God, we've got it. We got a vaccine. We're pretty sure this is it. This is great. This is amazing. The damage has already been done. It will take at least a year to get to a point where people feel like, okay, we're good, that it's out of mind, that we're moved on, and it's going to take that. And remember, we've not felt that second wave. Nobody knows how any of these governors and states are going to act when there is a spike. Are they going to circle around in certain areas and say, well, we're going to just focus on contact tracing and we're going to try to stop the spread here? Or are they going to go for another round of shutdowns? Because many small businesses that survive this first will not survive the second, and some will choose not to. Some will just say, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to continue to throw money at something where I don't know whether or not it can be open the next day. That's something to think about. So we're at depression levels? Absolutely. Tomorrow's jobs report, I expect it to be closer to 17 to 18%. So soak that up. And unemployment and jobs lost are two different things. Jobs lost means, in theory, those jobs may not ever come back. Now, all that being said, things will pop up. There'll be new industries created. There'll be new opportunities. People will be employed again, but some of those jobs that are gone aren't coming back. It is going to take us much longer than people think to get out of this. And half of us getting out of this is going to be psychological. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Something's very interesting.
If people want to wear a mask, that is okay. It protects others more than it protects you, because it prevents you from breathing or speaking moistly on them. Oh, what a terrible image. But it actually is something that people can do in certain situations.
And I was laughing because Heidi Harris, who's another radio host, she posted something earlier, and it was just like, it was so apropos, and I was laughing at it. If masks work, why did we have to shut everything down? If they don't work, why do we have to wear one? I thought that's a good question. I mean, there's nuance in all of these things, but it is kind of a good question. Because now when you look at stuff, you hear things like this from Governor Cuomo.
With everything we've done, closed schools, closed businesses, everybody shelter at home, all the precautions about wear a mask, wear gloves, etc., you still have 600 new cases that walked in the door yesterday. Where are those new cases still coming from? Because we've done everything we can to close down. How are you still generating 600 new cases every day? Where are they coming from?
Where are they coming from? Now, listen to this, because he was perplexed yesterday. Wait till you hear this.
Where are those people coming from? This is a surprise. Overwhelmingly, the people were at home. 18% of the people came from nursing homes. Less than 1% came from jail or prison. 2% came from the homeless population. 2% from other congregate facilities. But 66% of the people were at home. Shocking.
66% of the people were at home. What do you mean?
They're not working. They're not traveling. They're predominantly downstate, predominantly minority, predominantly older, predominantly non-essential employees.
They're not working. They're non-essential employees. They're doing the bare minimum as far as interacting with the outside world, going get groceries or whatever, and yet they're still the ones who are getting sick. So you've asked them to do everything, and it's still out there. That's an eye-opener. That is. He was perplexed. He was like looking around going, really? This is real? It's absolutely an eye-opener. What that says to me is the community spread of it being everywhere, it is. Some people are more susceptible to it. But I have a feeling at the end of the day, when we look back at this in several years, we're going to realize that a lot more people had it, that the mortality rate wasn't as great as some of the numbers say as far as, oh, it's 3% or it's 5% or it's going to be much lower, but the spread will be much wider. But it is crazy to think that 66% of the people that are new cases in New York are coming from non-essential workers who are not doing much to interact outside of their homes and have followed the rules. I'm sure not all of them follow the rules. We did a story a couple weeks ago where a woman stayed in her house because she had a compromised immune system. She stayed in her house, did not interact with anybody, had food delivered, and she was in her house for 3 weeks with no interaction. She still got it. That's crazy. So how do you stop it? You don't. You learn to live with it, and the best way we can fight this is what we have, which is our bodies, our immune systems. The people that are compromised, we do everything we can to shelter them, to make sure that they have everything they need, and that the people that are helping those people have everything they need, and then the rest of us are going to have to face this thing head on while they try to figure out what to do with all of the other stuff, whether it's the therapeutic treatments that they hope they come up with 2, 3, 4 of them, and the vaccine, and who knows when it comes to the vaccine. Because while they're giving all of these people the vaccine right now and they're testing it, the way that it works is for the first 3 months, they want to see if you have any reaction to the vaccine. Like, do you explode? Do your arms fall off? You go bald? Do you go blind? So that's part of this big 6,000 people study out of Oxford is we follow you for these 3-4 months. You check in on a daily basis, semi-daily basis, then a weekly basis. Make sure that you're not having any adverse effects to the stuff that they've given you. Then through the end of the year, they're also monitoring whether or not you've been exposed and have fought it off or never got it. So it's a two-pronged kind of thing, and it'll probably be the first of the year before we have any of those results. And there will be some people that I'm sure that struggled with some of the stuff that was given to them, but I bet a majority of them have no problems. But whether or not they get it, that's a different story. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at me, text the program as well. Dave Rubin, the Rubin Report, is going to join us at the bottom of the hour. He's got a new book out. Very interesting book. I got it on the old Audible. Love it. Just really interesting book, especially in this time and the craziness of right and left. It's really, really good read. CarShield, amazing company. Imagine this. You have a car that you like. It's maybe a little bit older. You're worried about the transmission or the engine. Some of those cover repairs can be really expensive, and you're not too sure at this moment in time to go out and buy something new. So you get CarShield. What that does is gives you peace of mind. Plans start as low as $99 a month. For that, you get 24/7 roadside assistance, rental car for free while your car's in the shop. And the shop is the shop that you choose. Car may be a little bit newer, and you're worried about the electronics. Guess what? They got a plan for that. Again, starting as low as $99 a month. You just call them up, 800-CAR-6000, mention code Benson. That saves you 10% right off the bat. And explain to them exactly what you're looking for. They'll take care of you. 800-CAR-6000. Code Benson saves you 10%, or carshield.com, carshield.com. Use code Benson to save 10%. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
Boys, give me a bowl of chili with plenty of peppers.
One Mexican heartburn. Why don't you mugs grow up?
The Chad Benson Show, where independent, a la carte thinkers have a seat at the table and a voice in the dialogue.
I'll have what she's having.
This is Chad Benson.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? A lot of stuff is trending. Death Star's trending. We were talking about this earlier. Who named it the Death Star? Like, they didn't name it. Like, the bad guys don't name stuff like that, do they? It's Death Star. Never understood. Like, you get to name it? Why do you get to name it? You don't get to name it. We just call it the big round white thing. You guys call it the Death Star because you want everybody to be afraid of us. Our uniforms are better anyways. So what do you think of those apples? You just hate the man. Oh, Chad. Jason Whitlock's trending. Why? Sports reporter. Talking about LeBron James and his tweet about Ahmaud Arbery and the shooting. Basically said, stop stirring the pot. We're not all being hunted. Jason Whitlock happens to be black. So there was a big, to-do about that, as there usually is in this day and age of Twitter. Another 3.2 is trending. Yes, 3.2 million people unemployed, bringing the total to 33+ million in 7 weeks. NFL schedule will be released tonight. That is super trending, as it should be, because it represents some normalcy. Head on over to Google. Pandemic. Background checks with guns still remain high. People are buying firearms because they're worried that the end is near. The end is nigh! Banksy and his painting is being hailed a masterpiece. Meek Mill, if you don't know who he is a rapper, right? Singer, entertainer. Is that what people want to be called now? Is it entertainers? You're not just that. I just don't do one. I'm an entertainer. Adele is still trending. Do you want to know how much Adele trends and like how pop culture can seep into the world? So I was talking yesterday to Governor Jan Brewer. So former governor of the beautiful state of Arizona. She is 75 years old. And I said, we were doing an interview, and before I was joking around, I said, she goes, we're going to talk about this, this, and this. I said, nope, we're going to spend the entire time talking about only one thing, and that is Adele. She goes, oh my God, how thin. And we had like this 5-minute conversation. It shows you how pop culture can seep into everything. But she's 75, probably not Adele's wheelhouse as far as music goes. She knew exactly what I was talking about. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Interesting guy, indeed. Dave Rubin, Rubin Report, many other things. He joins us straight ahead to talk about his new book, Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Enjoy his show. Watch it on the YouTube all the time. Follow him on Twitter as well. He's got a new book out, which I'm listening to rather than reading because I travel a lot. Dave Rubin joins us. The new book's called Don't Burn This Book, Thinking for Yourself in the Age of Unreason, and we're definitely there. So, Dave, you're out there trying to promote this thing. Let's talk about reason and non-reason, because it's not like before where you're traveling around because we can't do it because of, COVID-19. How's that going, trying to promote the book, but not really getting out there and having a chance to promote the book?
Yeah, it's been kind of bizarre. I was supposed to be on tour right now. We had about 25 theater shows throughout the country, and we were setting up a whole bunch more. And, I love being on tour. I toured for about a year and a half with Jordan Peterson all over the world. I love meeting people. I love doing the big theater shows and the crowds and all that. And now I'm doing what everybody else is doing. I'm at home. I'm talking to people on Skype and Zoom and on the phone. And, while that is not as fun per se, and because I do miss that human connection, I guess it's made my life a little bit easier. I'm in sweatpants right now. That's pretty good because normally I'd have to dress up all fancy. So I really can't complain. And more than anything else, when you write a book, the publishing process takes a really long time. So I finished this thing back in July, but the ideas that I talk about limited government, about states' rights, about individual responsibility, about the Second Amendment and the Fourth Amendment, the right to assemble, these are things that people are really talking about right now because of COVID. We're suddenly realizing, holy cow, I can't go to my place of work. We're suddenly realizing I can't assemble with friends. These are real things to think about. And more importantly than anything else, I think the states' rights argument, which is usually just thought of as like a libertarian kind of wonky argument that nobody really talks about. Well, everybody's talking about it right now. New York has a different situation than, say, Montana, and Montana has a different situation than Texas or California. So I think people are waking up to these ideas. So the timing is good, although everything being equal, I wish we were all out there living our normal lives again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'd all would wish that because we're watching the economy, totally disappear. And you talk about states' rights. We just did a story earlier today about a woman in Texas who was locked up for 7 days and fined $1,000 for opening her salon because she needed to feed her kids. And it's insane, brother.
It's absolutely insane. I actually just tweeted about her. Shelley Luther is her name. She is a true American hero. This is not somebody who just said, I want to defy all the orders. I think this is a hoax. I'm just going to get out there and do whatever I want. This is a woman who owns a salon, who knows that her workers are struggling. They want to feed their kids. She put policies in place involving masks and proper cleaning techniques and all of these things with limited amount of people that could come into the salon so that she could responsibly go about continuing her life. And I don't know if you just saw it, but, the judge basically said, you have to apologize for doing this. And she stood up and said, I will not apologize for trying to feed my kids. That is a true American hero. As a matter of fact, right before I jumped on the phone with you, I just donated to her GoFundMe, which they were trying to raise $250,000. And I think they're just about there. And I'm sure they're going to raise much more because, heroes don't always come in capes. They sometimes come as salon owners in Dallas, Texas, and she is definitely one of them.
That's true. Talking to Dave Rubin, your book, I've been going through it all as fast as I possibly can, listen to some stuff twice, and I enjoy so much of your take. And, you talk about yourself being a classic liberal. I don't think many people understand, because when you hear you talk, people say, well, he sounds very conservative. But you work with the Young Turks. You're on the progressive side. Explain to people out there who don't quite understand what exactly classic liberal is compared to conservative, progressive as we see it.
Yeah, I'm glad you're asking because it's true. The word liberalism has really been mangled. When I talk about classical liberalism, the true roots of liberalism, which really started in the 1700s, this is the idea that we should have individual rights, meaning if you're a legal member of society, you should have quality of rights, whether you're a man or a woman or black or white or gay or straight or whatever it may be, equal rights. Now, that doesn't mean that some of us aren't born into more money. Some of us aren't born with greater physical gifts, the litany of things that can happen in life. But that's not for the government to really figure out how to rejigger so we can all live equal lives. That's on you. So classical liberalism means individual rights and the light touch of government. Now, of course, in a modern sense, you're right. That sounds like libertarianism. That sounds like conservatism. And I understand that. And that's why actually I would say most of my political allies at this point are libertarians or conservatives. But I think it's important to note that liberalism was not always what it is now. This giant government socialist monster that we've seen come out of the left it was not always like this. Let's not forget JFK. What's his most famous quote? Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Think about how reverse that is than what Bernie Sanders would say. What Bernie Sanders would say is your country must do these things for you and free everything. So we have a history of good liberals in this country, from JFK to Daniel Patrick Moynihan to Ed Koch. And unfortunately, that's just sort of been decimated. So I often say defending my liberal principles is becoming a conservative position. And that explains why the word itself has been confused.
Talking to Dave Rubin, the book is called Don't Burn This Book, Thinking for Yourself in the Age of Reason. Some of the stuff I found just, as I go through it, and I've listened to it on a few occasions and trying to get through it, is your take on you take on Asian. I'm sitting there going, okay, he said the word Asian, so but privilege. How can there be privilege? But you break it down, and it's one of those things where we can't say that in today's world, because it's like COVID-19 is COVID-19 when everything else was called, the Ebola River. Why? We call it Lyme disease. Why? Well, we had to change it because to make it feel better. It's a murder hornet, not a giant Asian hornet that's killing, everybody's afraid of. And you talk about Asian privilege, and I thought, wow, he went there.
Well, look, the idea of Asian privilege, well, first off, it's Asian people like everybody else. I mean, think of every ethnic group that came to America, right? The Italians, Jews, Greeks, black people, everybody came to America, whatever Asian country your ancestors may have come from. Everyone came here. No one gave anyone anything. We all have the same stories. I talk about my family stories, but everyone has the same story, basically, of their family coming from Europe or wherever they came from with nothing, but was on their back, or what they had in a little suitcase and had nothing. And that story is true for Asians. And oddly, what has happened is the Asian community has busted their butts, has cared about family, has worked really hard, and through that really cared about education. Through that, they've succeeded. And what the left wants to do is now hold that against them. And the greatest example of that is that Harvard literally has a policy that will punish Asian students. They feel they have too many Asian students. This is what I would call racism, because the idea is, we want to help other groups. Except every time you say you want to help another group based on their race, you have to punish somebody else. And why should an 18-year-old Asian kid who busts his butt, who works hard, who came from a family that taught him the right things and he cared about education, why should he be punished and not allowed to go to Harvard for doing the right thing, for his family following the American dream? So most of the things that come out of the left, they sort of sound right, like, we want to help these people, whatever these people are. But what you have to do is then punish someone who is undeserving of being punished.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, and you're a free thinker. That's why I watch your show. There's some free thinkers out there that are real, and some that They play the game. They hope they are, but the reality is it's a game for them. And I enjoy watching you because you're not insane. And I think the thing about a lot of people on the right and left is they don't get each other because the extremes have hijacked all conversation. Most people are in cases they want to go to the same place, Dave. They have a different path, but it's not too dissimilar. But the extremes hijack everything, and it puts us, I feel, at war. And the extremes like it because there's money to be made there.
Absolutely. Well, look, that is the main thesis of this book, that you are allowed to think for yourself. You don't have to believe in every single thing that the Democrats tell you to believe to be on the left or a Democrat. You don't have to believe in everything that the Republicans say to be on the right or a conservative. Just because you're, say, for gay marriage doesn't mean you can't be for low taxes. Just because you're for the death penalty doesn't mean you can't be for legalizing marijuana. I could do a million versions of these things. And I think most people in America want to live and let live. I think most people in America want to live their lives and let their neighbor live their lives and get out of the way. We've just sort of been tricked into thinking that the government is supposed to do everything and tell us all how to live. And I think a lot of people are waking up to it right now because of coronavirus, because we're seeing what awesome power government has over our lives. And just because it's powerful doesn't mean it's just or right.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You see it everywhere. I mean, we have a couple sheriffs out here in Phoenix where I'm at. One of them, Mark Lamb, he's always on live PD, but he refuses to go in and write citations to store owners. He says, why is it that these people can't open, but Target and Walmart get to open, and they're selling goods too? Constitution is what I take orders from, not from people. And you're right about the government. I mean, this is giving a lot of people that firsthand snapshot of how government can not only encroach, but I don't think a lot of these things that they're putting out there, executive orders, are going to expire. See the Patriot Act. So you finished this book. Your hair was falling out. Saw that. That was very interesting. Now you've got this thing out there. What do you want people to take away from it? Because as I go through it, it's for everybody who's truly open-minded, and too many people on both sides want you always to make a decision. You're either with us or against us. You can't be free thinking and take everything as its own issue. What do you want people to get out of this?
What I want people to get out of this is not that you have to agree with me with every policy that I have. I'm sure if we talked for another hour, we could find some points of disagreement. That's a beautiful thing in America. That's not what I'm trying to solve. What I'm trying to solve is you better start speaking up now. I know it's scary. I know you're afraid for your job. You're afraid for your family. Nobody wants to deal with the mob and the whole thing. And yes, I talk about how when I first started getting mobbed, I suddenly developed this condition called alopecia areata. I lost about 40% of my hair. It was a freaking miserable time in life. But when you get on the other side and you actually stand up for what you believe in, you will be better. You will find better friends. You will have more rich relationships. And more importantly than that, if you think that your silence is what's going to save you here, that, oh, this thing will just pass and my silence will save me, well, guess what? You're the frog in the slowly boiling pot, and it never ends well for the frog. So you've got a moment right now, especially because of what's going on with Corona. Fight for what you believe in, even if it's not exactly what I believe in. That's what America is.
Why have we stopped having conversations? And people always ask me, why do you have a certain person on and not another person? And I say, well, you know what? I ask everybody. I ask everybody on the left, come on, because I'm not right or left. I'm an independent as it gets. And they won't come on, yet anybody on the right will go on anything. I even watched Bill Maher a couple months ago when he had on, what's his name that ran Trump's campaign, Bannon.
He's had Steve Bannon on. He had Dan Crenshaw on last week.
Yeah.
Bill Maher is a good example of basically the last liberal who's willing to do that sort of thing, because you're right. Conservatives all the time. I mean, look, I bring on people like Dennis Prager and Ben Shapiro and Dan Crenshaw and Glenn Beck come on my show all the time. They know we have some political disagreements. And guess what? I'm friends with all of them. I've broken bread with all of them, and we've enjoyed those conversations. On the left, it's getting much trickier to do it. And the reason for that is they believe, because as a general rule, they believe that because they feel something, that it automatically is right. Except just because you feel something doesn't make it right. What makes something right is a fact-based analysis. I mean, that's using logic and reason. We were given these brains by God to use them. That's what makes us different than the animals. And the left has gone with this feeling-based thing. So when someone disagrees with them, they take it as an affront to their humanity, whereas that's very different, where generally on the right, if you say to someone on the right, hey, I'm pro-choice, you're pro-life, usually they'll say, well, here are the reasons I'm pro-life. Why are you pro-choice? And that's very different than on the left when you say, if someone says I'm pro-life, a lefty will just say, oh, well, that means you hate women. And we have to break out of that cycle, because we're in a country of 350 million people. And guess what? There's a lot of opinions in there. And I just don't want to bow to somebody else's opinion because they're threatening me.
Amen. Love it. The book's awesome. Don't burn this book, Thinking for Yourself in the Age of Unreason. There's plenty of it out there, man. We know you've been talking all day. Appreciate you coming on. Go try to relax yourself, and good luck on the book, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks. Dave Rubin right there. Amazing. And I've got he actually narrates the book too, which is awesome, because sometimes, and it's like perfect compared to a lot of other books I get where it's the read is not as good. You will enjoy it. Don't burn this book, Thinking for Yourself in the Age of Unreason. Check it out. Great book. Chad Benson Show.
Warning, no snowflake zone. Uninformed opinions are in danger of melting. The Chad Benson Show.
They can get contraceptive coverage only from paying out of their own pocket, which is exactly what Congress didn't want to happen.
Yeah, that right there is RBG. She's out of the hospital. She is part of the first time ever holding these hearings for the Supreme Court online, virtual. It's very interesting. You can actually listen to it. It is really fascinating. And one of my other producers, Pablo, listened to it. He's like, man, these people are just so ridiculously sharp. And today they've made their first ruling. They've thrown out the convictions of the New Jersey officials in the Bridgegate scandal. And it was a unanimous decision. They concluded that, yes, it was political in nature what they did. They said they used deception to cut across lanes from Fort Lee to New Jersey Bridge. They jeopardized the safety of the town's residents, but not every corrupt act by state or local officials is a federal crime. They also said they did not aim to obtain money or property, and therefore they could not have violated wire fraud laws. Part of what happens in this day and age is they use certain things, especially the feds, like the RICO Act, to just blanket go after everybody for everything. And they came in today at the SCOTUS unanimously and said, nope, not going to do it. Imagine SCOTUS, though. You're a lawyer. You have a chance to pitch them on your case. You're in front of the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land. This is it. Like, this is one of our co-equal branches. You have this opportunity. But we live in a time of COVID, everybody's social distancing. They're all away from each other, so you're doing it via Skype or Zoom or some special, closed circuit TV kind of thing that they've all got beamed in there so they can all hear it. But people are still inside their homes.
The subject matter of the call might range beyond the collection of government-backed debt. Maybe they're going to be marketing some other product. Maybe they're going to be saying, hey, call your congressman and change these laws that apply to banks. And what the FCC has said is that when the subject matter of the call ranges to the topics, then the call is transformed. And it's a call that would have been allowed and is no longer allowed.
Yeah, that was a flushing sound. We were trying to figure out who it was. We think it's Clarence Thomas. We went with that. We think we know it's not the attorney, right? Like the attorney, this is his big, or her, whoever would be doing something like that. You're in front of it. You're going to do all you can to show respect. This is it. But the judges, on the other hand, a little older, doing their thing, probably don't quite get how the technology works, that you're getting picked up on everything. Maybe they thought they had a mute button on and they didn't hit the right thing. And lo and behold, in the middle of it, you got that. Probably not a good sound. I don't know if they flushed the case or not. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at me. Check out thechadshow.com. Grab your podcast where great podcasts are available. I like to think my podcast is pretty good. You can hear the Dave Rubin interview. Great interview. Good dude. Check it out. Follow along on Twitter and, of course, Instagram as well. It is the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The number of new claims for unemployment benefits increased by nearly 3.2 million last week, bringing the total during the 7-week pandemic to more than 33 million. And this is just a precursor to a monthly jobs report Friday that economists say could show 16% unemployment. The pace of layoffs is slowing, but still increasing, even with portions of the economy reopening.
Yes! It's a lot of people. 33 million people. 33 million people unemployed. 33 million in 7 weeks. How many of them will get their jobs back remains to be seen. How long is this going to go on for? They're starting to open stuff up slowly but surely, but that doesn't mean they're going to stay open forever. Let's be real. There is no real code of conduct, if you will, for moving forward. Nobody seems to have followed any of the federal guidelines. Nobody seems to really care about that. You leave states up to their own, you make up your own mind. We're going to leave it up to you. You're the responsible one. You know your state better than everybody else, but the numbers they're rising. Some of that may be due. Let's be real too. Some of that may be due to testing. Because if you test 10,000 one day, but the previous 4 days you tested a total of 10,000, well, then you're going to find that you're probably going to have more people that test positive. So how do we go about it? I like to say the one data that you can look at is hospitalizations percent-wise to what's available. So if you've got 300 rooms available in a particular area for hospitals, or maybe 500 in the city or 1,000, and only 10% are being occupied by people who have COVID, then you could say, all right, well, we seem to be at a point where we can handle things. So let's move on. But when it comes to the economy, I mean, what's the next step? Well, we open up, but what's the next step for when things go a little wonky? When things don't quite go as you'd hoped? That social distancing is working to a certain point, but you're still finding spikes here or there, and then what? I mean, those are real questions that people are asking. I don't think anybody has the answer. And the answer is that they do have, let's be 100% honest, probably aren't the answers that a lot of people want to hear. That's the reality of this. Probably not the answer that some states want to hear, because they're getting pressure from businesses. See, think about this for a second. As a small business owner or business owner in general, you're feeling the pressure for the most part. 90% of business are. Some have managed to keep their heads above waters. Others have excelled because the thing that they do is the need that they provide happens to be the need that everybody wants. So that being said, cities and states across the country are suffering the same thing as small businesses because they have no tax revenue. And they have built-in cost that they get from people that they're not able to get. That's why they're borrowing from the feds. You're going to find cities and states across this country may go bankrupt. They may have a choice. They've got pensions that they're not going to be able to pay. It's nuts. So it's not just small business. So there's an incentive to get your state up and running again, to start collecting taxes so you can try to right your ship as much as it is the small business. But the psychological effect and damage has already been done. You open it up today, doesn't guarantee that you're going to be around tomorrow. People aren't going to be spending money the same way because they don't know exactly what's going to happen in the future. And people say, well, none of us know what's going to happen. Yes, but in the immediate future, we know there's going to be a spike. We don't know how is your city or state going to respond. Oh, yeah, we don't know that. Are they going to close you down again? Talk to most business owners. They'll tell you. They're able to withstand this, but another round, most of them aren't. You're not going to need as many employees because you may only have half the capacity or a quarter of the capacity. People are going to be worried about spending money because they don't know if money's going to be coming in a month because they may be shut down again. It is a vicious cycle. And then you take into the psychological aspect of it, where people are afraid to go outside because they see every door handle, every interaction, everything they can see or touch becomes potentially a death blow to them. The damage to the economy has been done. How do we get back? That's the trillion-dollar question. Slowly. And there's going to be some bumps in the road. And there's going to be a lot of businesses that will not be around in a few months and even more by the end of the year. But we'll climb and we'll get there. It's going to take time. It's not the new normal. It's just the now normal. And as we get to the place where we start to feel more comfortable, we've got therapeutics, maybe potentially the vaccine is instead of 10 months, a year away, is months or weeks away, people will feel more and more comfortable. People that step out of business because they don't want to wait for the knock on the door that says you got to close again, may then say, well, I can reopen another business. Other people may say, this is the time for me to jump into business, and it'll start to rebuild itself from there. But it is going to be organic. It is going to take time, and it's not just the economy running as a normal economy that's struggling. There's a psychological effect because of this that's going to cause a lot of people to pause for several different reasons. But at the end of the day, there won't be doing the same things as they were before, whatever those reasons. So it will take time. But it will come back. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. It's going to come back. I promise you. I'm telling you guys, it's going to come back. This is the now normal, not the new normal. There's a bedtime story out there that is just, people are raving about it.
It was a world of waste and wonder, poverty and plenty, back before we understood why hindsight's 2020. People came up with companies to trade across all lands. They swelled and got much bigger than we ever could have planned. We'd always had our wants, but now it got so quick. You could have anything you dreamed of in a day, and with a click. And every toddler had a phone. Amidst the noise, they felt alone. We'd drive around all day in circle. We'd forgotten how to run. We swapped the grass for tarmac, shrunk the parks till there were none.
Okay, so you see what's going on here? They shrunk the parks till there was none. Our world is bad. It's evil. All the things we have. It's just too much. And look, there's some of that. We have deforestation, encroaching on certain parts of nature, et cetera, et cetera. We can go into a lot of those things, but not all of it's bad. But we're not done.
But then in 2020, a new virus came our way. The governments reacted and told us all to hide away, while we all were hidden, amidst the fear, and all the while, the people dusted off their instincts. They remembered how to smile. They started clapping to say thank you, and calling up their mums, and while the car keys gathered dust, they would look forward to their runs. And with the skies less full of voyagers, the earth began to breathe, and the beaches bore new wildlife that scuttled off into the seas.
Oh, so this virus is saving us. Oh, what do you think of that?
And so when we found the cure, and were allowed to go outside, we all preferred the world we found to the one we'd left behind. Old habits became extinct, and they made way for the new, and every simple act of kindness was now given its due.
But why did it take a virus to bring the people back together?
Well, sometimes you've got to get sick, my boy, before you start feeling better. Now lie down and dream of tomorrow, and all the things that we can do. And who knows, if you dream hard enough, maybe some of them will come true.
Or maybe a virus will get you. Oh, that's not very nice, Chad. You talked about the virus. It's kind of weird, right? It's odd. People are like, it's so good. I love clean air. I love not having traffic. I have zero problems with that. I think one of the things that's going to come out of this is the rethinking of where people live. I think New York City, which was already bleeding, and California, they're already bleeding people as far as people are sick and tired of the high taxes and a lot of that stuff, are looking around saying, you know what? I don't know if I want to be here. But I also believe businesses are going to start refocusing on certain things, especially when it comes to having giant office space. Do we really need this much office space? It's hard to tell because we're not in a normal time. So people's production at home may be less, but you could chalk some of that down to, well, we're not in a normal phase. So it's hard, you know, so the fact that we're not getting as much done, But I do think that we're going to find a lot of that. I think we're going to find a lot of ways that people are going to work around some of this stuff and integrate this into our daily lives of not so much social distancing where we don't hang out with each other. That's insane and asinine to think that. But working from home 2 days a week, not traveling as much because we have this technology that's amazing. So we don't always need to fly somewhere. There is times that you have to absolutely be certain places. For sure. But a lot of it, we don't have to. And I think that'll be a good thing. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. I've always said eventually the earth is going to say, I've had enough of you. And I believe that it is time for us to thin the herd. And nature, as we always point out on the show, will mess you up. Wounded Paw Project, amazing organization. Been working with them for a while. Ernesto's put together this incredible company. What they do is they rescue dogs that are in shelters will be euthanized, train them to be, so they rescue them, they're in shelters, and then they train them to be service dogs, and they get them to the people who need it, our veterans who are wounded, struggling from PTSD, first responders and their families. And it is truly changing lives, and they need your help. They need your support. Especially now, they're inundated because of what's going on, and the first responders are struggling. Anything you could do. Cash is always accepted at woundedpawproject.org, but they would love it if you have an extra car, truck, or RV that you would like to donate. Get a great tax-deductible gift. And you can even go to woundedpawproject.org, find out how you give. But you can also go to smile.amazon.com and set your supporting group to Wounded Paw Project as well. Find out everything you need to know on how you can give at woundedpawproject.org. That's woundedpawproject.org. Woundedpawproject.org. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where we reach across the aisle and occasionally poke someone in the eye.
Some people look to the stars and ask, what if? Our job is to have an answer. We have to imagine what will be imagined, plan for what's possible, while it's still impossible. Maybe you weren't put here just to ask the questions. Maybe you were put here to be the answer. Maybe your purpose on this planet isn't on this planet.
Space Force. Not to be confused with Space Force, the new Netflix series with Steve Carell. That's actually Space Force. Maybe your purpose on this planet was not to be on this planet. What do you think of those apples? Space Force. If you've not seen the trailer for Space Force, the Netflix series with Steve Carell, or I don't know if it's a series. I think it's a series, but it might be a movie or whatever. It is hilarious. It is just he's in the military. He's always wanted to have his own branch, and he gets to run, and they put him in charge of Space Force, and it is hilarious. Check it out. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Just saw a study. And this just brings it home to everything. So Arizona was one of the states that was crushed during the 2008 recession. In 1 month, all of the jobs that it had gained back and gained ahead of where they were in 2008 to become arguably the strongest economy in the country, they've lost. They've lost every one of those gains in 1 month. Nuts, right? Or then there's this.
A lot of people saying, call for a general strike, call for a general strike. The majority of Americans don't know what a general strike is. And so our responsibility is to talk about it, expand consciousness about it, and to actually create the conditions in which working people can generate and really exercise their own power, the power that they already have for themselves.
A general strike that she's calling for is for people to go out on strike because they want better wages and everything else. And you know when the best time to do that is? When there's a pandemic and 33 million people have lost their jobs. That's the best time to strike. Like, you strike while the iron is cool. Oh, was it hot? You supposed to do it with hot? Oh. AOC. Anytime somebody brings consciousness into something, I go, you've lost me. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. Consciousness, you'll get a higher level of consciousness with your new MyPillow. So Mike Lindell has cleared everything out in the production side of stuff from the MyPillow, and he switched it over to helping make PPEs. It's incredible what he's doing. It's just amazing. So he's helping out, making masks and everything else he possibly can. So he's got a warehouse full of stuff he needs to get out. So he said, let's do a buy one, get one free. So right now, a buy one, get one free on all the products. You're going to absolutely love the Supreme MyPillows, the Giza's Dream Sheets. They're just amazing. Plus, he said, let's do a 6-day money-back guarantee. We'll give everybody a 10-year warranty. And remind them that everything's made in the U.S. of A., which is awesome. So when you go to the new radio listener specials at MyPillow.com, type in code Benson so that you can enjoy these amazing buy one, get one free and take advantage of everything. On top of that, on the way out, if you order his book, which is an amazing book about a guy that went from rag to riches and fell on some serious hard times by making poor choices, he's going to ship everything for free and give you a $25 gift card towards your next purchase. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. Oh, yeah. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
There's probable cause there to make an arrest. If it was the other way around, if it had been someone shot that was black, said he got out of a truck, stopped a jogger, white, many of us feel they would have been arrested right away because there's probable cause and they would have told the black assailants, tell it to the judge. Well, that's what they ought to say to this man and his son. Tell your story to the judge because that video clearly says that you with no cause, no self-defense, shot and killed a man that was merely jogging while black.
Rarely do I say this. Al Sharpton's right. If you've not seen this, and not a lot of people have, it's over the last 24 hours, it has picked up steam. We talked about it yesterday. Ahmaud Arbery was out for a jog. That's it. Family says he loves to jog. Dad, his mom, this is what he likes to do. Loves to jog. Former football player in high school, Atlanta, Georgia, out for a jog in his southern Georgia neighborhood. Black dude running down the street. The McMichaels, father and son, chase him. Brunswick. So they're there chasing him in the neighborhood. Somebody's got a camera on the whole thing, and we were trying to figure out, like, who would be filming this. And I'm like, how many people nowadays, Lyft drivers, Uber drivers, they have cameras because they capture all kinds of weird stuff, and they just do. I mean, everybody's, a lot of people do have cameras, dash cams, and all that stuff. They're in a white pickup. They get ahead of him. They get out. The son confronts him with a shotgun. There's a scuffle. 3 shots are fired. The dad's riding in the back of the pickup truck. So you got 2 white dudes with guns and a 25-year-old guy, unarmed, running down a neighborhood, just jogging. And they believe he's a suspect in burglaries in the neighborhood. He shot 3 times. Takes about 3 or 4 steps, falls to his knees, collapses. Happened February 25th or 23rd. We had the coronavirus. It's quiet. All anybody's talking about is quiet, because the coronavirus is it. I mean, there's nothing happening. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world because the coronavirus is. The sports are being canceled. Movies are being canceled. They're closing everything. Coronavirus is here. It's taken over. And that's all that anybody's talking about. And that's all that anybody wants to hear is they want to know what's going on. The world's changed. It's been flipped upside down. So has his family's lives. Just out for a jog. And they're calling it a modern lynching. And based on the video I see, I don't know what else you're going to call it. I don't. They said they were making a citizen's arrest, but they didn't see this guy break into anything. He was a suspect that matched the suspects that they were looking for. They were going to make a citizen's arrest. If you see the video, it's a tough video to watch.
I do believe that Ahmaud was just out for his daily jog. I have believed that since day one. He's been doing this for years.
Everybody knows him, says he liked to go for a run. He liked to jog. I go out and go for a jog. It'd be weird if two guys just rolled up on you with guns. There's some questions that need to be answered. Absolutely. And people are starting to raise awareness of this. You're innocent until proven guilty in our country. You have to hear all sides of the story. But based on the video I've seen, it's an ugly look for our country. It's an ugly look for Georgia. This was, it looks like exactly what people are saying, a modern day lynching. Chase a guy down in a truck. Two white guys, one in the back of the truck, the bed of the truck, both armed, get out and confront a guy. And minutes later, he's dead.
This is outrageous, and I think that it demands an arrest immediately today. His birthday's tomorrow. We couldn't think of a more appropriate way to make sure that this mother, who's going to Mother's Day without her son, deal with the fact that at least there's a step toward justice with an arrest. An arrest is not a conviction. An arrest starts a process. But to not even start the process is blatantly disregarding the law in favor of this man who ought to know better since he was on law enforcement for 30 years.
Yeah, and that's part of the issue here is Pops was, I guess, in law enforcement for a long time. Son, everybody wants to distance themselves when it comes to this situation. Everybody wants to get as far away as possible from this. So the DAs they've kicked it to the side. They've said, well, one prosecutor said, this feels like it's just a self-defense, stand your ground law, but they've all recused themselves. And the prosecutor now has said, look, the district attorney said, we're going to look at this. We can't do anything. We can't convene a grand jury because we have social distancing in place. So there's not a lot we can do at this moment in time with McMichael's family because of what's going on. They're not going to reconvene until June, which is fair. I mean, it's fair to say at this moment in time, if you're going to convene a grand jury for real, I get that. And this is the process that goes on. And the reason for that is because, as we all know, we're living in a world of COVID-19 where things are much different. But this was ugly. And it does deserve attention. And there's a lot of stories over the last several weeks that have been essentially gone because of COVID-19. Sucks up all the air everywhere. And I'm glad that this is getting attention.
Ahmaud carried the most humblest spirit. Ahmaud was kind. He was well-mannered. Ahmaud, most of all, was loved by his family and peers. I mean, Ahmaud didn't deserve to go the way that he went.
And, of course, what's going to end up happening is they're going to start digging. Digging. Does he have an arrest record? What was his arrest record? What did he do? I don't care what he had done in the past. What he was doing there was nothing. He was jogging. And he was killed. Do you have video of him stealing stuff? Do you have video of that? We'll find out. Innocent until proven guilty. They have their right to have their say. At this point in time, nobody's been arrested. The McMichaels, father and son, have not been arrested. Do I think it's coming? I think at some point in time, there's a possibility, and they will have their opportunity to have their day in court. This would be the big story if it wasn't for the coronavirus. And it's starting to bubble. And I think you're going to hear more and more of it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. With all that going on, yes, kids, I want to remind you today they released more unemployment news.
The number of new claims for unemployment benefits increased by nearly 3.2 million last week, bringing the total during the 7-week pandemic to more than 33 million. And this is just a precursor to a monthly jobs report Friday that economists say could show 16% unemployment. The pace of layoffs is slowing, but still increasing, even with portions of the economy reopening.
Yeah. I think we're going to be closer to 17 to 18% based on the numbers I've seen. We're at 33 million in 7 weeks. 33 million. And we've yet to go through what I think is going to be the toughest time, because this was a shock, but people have kind of adapted to this normal that we have at this moment. I call this a momentary normal because it's not the new normal. We're not going to live like this forever. But there is going to be a second wave. There is going to be more and more companies that are going to be exhausting the last of that PPP money. And they're going to start to realize as they reopen, they're not going to need as many staff members, or they're going to start to realize that they're not going to be able to sustain the businesses, and they're going to start to shutter. And if there is a second shutdown, that will be absolutely devastating. 48% of American business, as far as people who are employed by people who have small businesses. So about half the workforce is employed by small businesses. Could you imagine if we lost half of those, what that looks like? It'll open up opportunities elsewhere for people to come in and fill voids, but it's still going to take a long time to get back to an economy that is chugging along with unemployment down where we once had it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. You can tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Do love hearing from all of you. Mask. You have your mask yet? Do you? Boomer Naturals. I'm working with them. They supplied a bunch of masks to a food bank here and gave us some. They're incredible. These masks are 30-day face masks. So Boomer Naturals gets these face masks, brings them over from some of their partners over in Vietnam who have, by the way, if you go look at their numbers, these masks are incredible. The numbers in Vietnam are extremely low compared to ours. 92.2% is what this mask gives you for protection compared to you do it yourself one, anywhere from 2% to 70%. And the N95s are medical grade, and you can't even find those, most people, anywhere. These ones, though, are amazing because you can wash and wear for 30 days. Simple and easy. 3 layers of protection. Hypoallergenic. 65% cotton, 35% polyester. It's a blended material. Soap, water, room temperature. Let it dry, air-wise. Away you go. Each mask can be worn for 30 days. Suitable for all-day wear. Covers your nose, covers your mouth. Available in adult and children's sizes. And these masks are being worn in hospitals all over the globe. Here's the great thing. Got a chance to get yours now. You're going to love these things. BoomerNaturals.com. BoomerNaturals.com. Use code CHAD20. You're going to save 20% plus free shipping on any orders over $50. Take your family's health into your own hands and order your 30-day mask now. BoomerNaturals.com. Use promo code CHAD20. BoomerNaturals.com. Promo code CHAD20. Chad Benson Show.
get over it. It's time to forge a new path with your very own political cartographer, Chad.
As we move forward and continue to move forward in this new time, and again, I call this the now normal, masks are going to become more and more a part of our everyday life. Joining us now is Director of Communications for Boomer Naturals, Susan Hobbs. And Susan, you guys have amazing masks, and I want to thank you guys. You sent out about 1,000 or 1,500 masks to one of our homeless shelters who help feed many people here in Phoenix, and they absolutely love them. So how is the mask world right now?
We are so busy. We actually just opened up our third warehouse to be able to get all of these out to everyone, because people are realizing that they want to have a mask, but they also want to have a good quality mask that truly protects them. And that's what people are discovering, is that not all masks are the same. So we're busy.
No, they're not. They are not. Not all masks are the same. And I think everybody who realizes, whether they make them at home or they happen to come across some somewhere, they're uncomfortable and they can get nasty after a while. Your mask, 30 days, right, at Boomer Naturals, you guys have a 30-day mask that is washable. It's awesome.
So what's so great about these masks also is, like, I've been looking online and kind of comparing other masks over the last few weeks, and it'll say this mask is not proven to reduce the transmission of disease. Why would you buy that? Why would you spend $1 on something that they have to claim? But with our masks, these are comfortable, breathable. It's 3 layers of cloth, that each of those layers has been treated with nano silver technology, which is meant to stop and proven to stop particles from getting through and into your nose and mouth. 92.2% antibacterial protection compared to 0 or a very small percentage. So it's great. Those bandanas and things, it's good to have some kind of coverage, but the protection is not there. The cloth has not been treated to be antibacterial. So we're just encouraging people to, if you're going to use a mask, let's use a good one.
Yeah, talking to Susan Hobbs, Director of Communication with Boomer Naturals, talking about the masks that you guys have that are just amazing. Like I said, you sent them off. Just the response I got back was how comfortable they are, and you've got children's sizes because they deal with kids as well as they deal with adults. And it is breathable, which I'm sure you get this complaint from a lot of people, that people get masks, and even the N95s, especially some of the ones that people have that are for hospitals and stuff, they're uncomfortable. They're not great.
Yeah, this is very difficult to get used to, and you maybe kind of feel a little bit weird walking around with a mask on. But boy, when I'm out, I feel much safer having my Boomer Naturals mask on. And yes, like you mentioned, we do have adult and children's sizes. The cost breaks down to about 30 cents a day. We could be charging way more for these incredible masks, but we want to get them into the hands of anyone that needs them. And you want to have a child-sized mask that fits the child's face, that goes up near the nose, all the way over to the ears and under the chin. And we have them in stock, and we're going to ship them out to you just as quickly as we can. But like you mentioned, they are usable for 30 days, 30 uses. You can wear them all day long. At the end of the day, hand wash it in warm water, and it'll dry in a couple hours, and you can use it the next day.
What are they made of?
They are a cotton polyester blend, 65%,
That's nice.
35%.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's why it's breathable and comfortable. And the 30-day use, which is awesome, because you hear people who have their mask or they have an old mask, and after a few days it's gross. And one of the things that one of the people over at the food bank said to me is, what I like is my glasses don't fog up, which is a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, these are guaranteed to be comfortable. They're hypoallergenic. They're non-toxic. And each of those 3 layers of cloth, especially that inner cloth that touches your face, is the softest material. But all of those 3 layers have been treated with that nano silver technology. So it's going to be highly protective, and we have lab testing to prove that it's 92.2% effective. So, it's well worth it to get a couple masks, have them on hand, wear them. On our website, we also have a video that explains how to wear and care for your mask, because it does matter how you wear it, and that it is washed and that you take it off carefully. So we want to educate everybody with this new normal.
Yeah, absolutely. And got different colors. If people want to get in touch, you ship anywhere in the U.S. How do they do it?
Absolutely. Go to boomernaturals.com. And let's give the promo code out as well. So if you are at checkout, put in CHAD20, and you'll save 20% on anything you order on our website. And we also have some hand sanitizer if you're looking for hand sanitizer as well. So get those. Enter in CHAD20 at boomernaturals.com. Free shipping on any order over $50.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. Be safe out there and keep wearing those masks. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter and your Instagram. I tell you what, we've got ours, and when I go certain places where I know that people would feel uncomfortable, you didn't see them, you put them on, and different colors. Have a good rest of your day. I see Friday. We'll do it again tomorrow. Night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.